episode 4. I think that this is episode 4 anyway. We have a new schedule. And by we, I mean me. I do every fucking thing about this podcast. Full show is going to start to come out Sunday nights. And then I'm just going to post clips of that show daily throughout the week, followed by a new episode on Sunday night. Yeah, so if you're like one of the fucking 3 people who actually listens to this show on a consistent basis, gotcha. Okay, so this was yesterday. My dad was watching Restaurant Impossible. My mom and I were just like having a fucking conversation in the kitchen. And my dad does this thing where if he's in the zone watching TV, don't fuck with him. Like, and we weren't even doing that, but my mom and I were just having a conversation, and it was, regular conversation, wasn't too loud, nothing like that. His TV volume was probably on like 20. We were in the kitchen, so he could kind of hear us talking and whatnot. He fucking took the remote and blasted the volume to like 50, literally just to tell us, hey, yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm watching TV right now. I don't care about your conversation. And then I had to break the news to him because this was like 2 hours later now. My mom and I were just like, fuck it, we're done talking. Like, this isn't going to happen. 2 hours later, we're having an issue with the fridge and freezer, and it's not keeping shit cold, whatever. So we're about borderline ready to go, hop in, go to Lowe's, Walmart, Home Depot, like whatever, to get a new fridge freezer. And we look over, and he's like fucking borderline ready to cry over Restaurant Impossible. And of course he knows that I was going to tell him this, and he kind of knows it already, which is so fucking ridiculous. Like, it's fake! It's scripted! Every single show that you see practically on, major television, Restaurant Impossible, Shark Tank. Yes, Shark Tank has some real deals and whatnot, and they're real because they're real investments and whatnot, but like, if you ever, like, go to audition for Shark Tank, go to audition for Restaurant Impossible, there's a reason it's a fucking audition, dude. Like, they cut scenes. You have to say stuff certain ways. You have to do so much. You have to make things look emotional when they're really not that fucking emotional. There's so much more that goes into it where people are... That's why my dad is literally fucking borderline ready to cry on the couch. I'm like, dude, it's not fucking real! Moving on. We're going to go back to the old school days, man. 9 months I was on the air in Virginia. We're going to bring back the unpopular opinion. So the unpopular opinion for me is the power of intent. I preach about intent a lot. Now, a lot of people who know me, I have fucking principles that I'm dead set on. Now, over the years, there's like certain things I've moved on. Okay, I get this, understand that. I've gotten a little bit more lenient. This is one of those things I have just totally not moved on at all. So basically, the law of intent. So for me, what does that mean? Like, let's start with it. There's one that I might do another time, but it's going to make me look like a giant fucking asshole. And I am, and I own it, whatever. I just don't care. So news broke that Shawn Mendes had some old tweets that are apparently, quote unquote, racist. And first off, if you actually have read the tweets, I'm not sure. I'm going to read them in a second, some of them. Anybody who thinks that they're racist is a fucking nut job. So here, I have them pulled up here. So he had said, quote, I'm black, burnt up, Also said 98% of black people are naturally gifted with the ability to dance. That was one. And then lastly, there was one that, it's actually kind of funny. He said just light-skinned girls with like a bunch of greater than signs. To me, that's pretty funny. But like, here's my thing, and this is what I'm talking about with intent. Do you really fucking think 14-year-old Shawn Mendes is behind a computer maliciously typing light-skinned girls? Like he's just got racism running through his fucking veins as he's typing this stuff. No. Like, especially Shawn Mendes, he seems like a really fucking down-to-earth guy. So to think that like he's maliciously behind the keyboard, oh, I can't wait to be fucking racist today. Like, I don't see it. Sorry. That goes with a lot of other things from me. And I thought this was funny too, because he gave what was called like a piss poor apology to a lot of people. He had basically said that, well, and this is actually fucking true too, like, because here's what his apology was. Sorry, the thing shouldn't have been said, but my friends used to take my phone all the time, and they actually were the ones who tweeted all that stuff. Which, if you were 14, A, that was an excuse that you used all the time, and B, sometimes it was actually true. Like, I go through Facebook memories, and I see shit like that all the time. His apology, people are upset at it, whatever. My thing is, like, if you think he's fucking racist, Like, just fucking don't listen to his music. Shut the fuck up and move on with your life. If you genuinely believe, like I said, his 14-year-old self is behind a fucking keyboard, ready to maliciously attack black people, then A, you're a nut job. B, don't listen to his fucking music. Shut the fuck up. Nobody cares what you have to say. Hate to break it to you. The last part. This is going to be the last segment for the day. My 2-month relationship rule. I have a rule, and obviously it's for 2 months or no. It's almost like we put 2 and 2 to fucking together. So basically, with the last 2 to 3 girls I've been with in particular, they get really fucking freaked out when I bring this up because I say it and I'm pretty open and honest about it. So essentially, I'm kind of at that point where right now I don't fucking want a relationship other than like a certain kind of relationship that I'm not going to get into on the air. But if I do want a relationship, it's very rare. And I'm not the kind of person to want to date somebody for 6 months and just kind of drag along. Like, this isn't the person that you're going to end up with forever or whatever. And you're kind of just dragging it out because it's a good time. It's fun. Nobody's feelings are hurt. I mean, the relationship is by no means going to last forever. But you're just like, oh, okay, I don't fucking do that shit. Like, if I have a feeling in 3 months, if I just have a gut feeling that in 3 months we're not going to be together, I'll save you the 3 months and just fucking cut you off. Like, I don't see the point. There's an old saying that the longer you're with somebody, the harder it is to leave. So why on fucking earth, if say you're at month 2 in the relationship, and that's why I give it 2 months, because you don't really know, you can't figure out a person in a week, 2 weeks, whatever. So you give it some real substantial time. Be like, is there a legitimate future with this person? And if there's like a 50% chance you say yes, you fucking ride it out. But if you're like, man, after 2 months, this isn't going, I mean, it's fun, but this isn't going anywhere, all you're doing is making shit harder for when you leave. Because what's going to happen is the longer you stay with somebody, the more and more you get attached to them, and the harder it is to leave. So at month 2, it would have been fucking super easy. You would have gone back to your life as normal. Now at month like 8, you've adjusted this person into your day-to-day life. You have a routine with them. You have like schedules with them. You schedule work around each other. You eat together, whatever. And it's like, it's going to be that much more fucking difficult to leave. So it's one of those things where I take a lot of shit on, because people immediately are like, you're gonna judge me in like 2 fucking months, and I'm supposed to like, now I feel like I'm in an audition. I'm like, it's not that you're auditioning. I'm just being open and honest with you, because if I wasn't, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice. So don't be that fucking asshole. Like, if you don't see that, like, if at month 2 or month 3 you're like, like, hey, this is fun, I'm having a good time, let's just ride it out and see how far we can go. Don't fucking do it. It's going to make shit so much harder when you leave. And not only is it going to make shit harder when you leave, because like your other partner might seriously have interest in you. So like they might think that the longer you go, you guys are just making progress and you're becoming a better and better couple. When in reality, you're just like, it's not going to last, but I'm going to ride it out. That is a fucking shitty thing to do. Okay, we're back. I guess this is just like an added, part to the podcast, because it's something I really wanted to put in this episode. I didn't want to wait until next week because it's current news. I totally forgot about it. Basically, the first kid to die that's related to vaping. It says this is the first death of an individual in Illinois who's been hospitalized for severe respiratory illness with reported vaping e-cigarette use. Now, when I first read that, I was a little skeptical because it says respiratory illness with reported vaping e-cigarette use, which didn't mean that the two were directly linked. But when I go on to read this article from USA Today, it basically says that there's a ton of people now coming to like all sorts of hospitals, medical facilities with tons of respiratory illnesses, and it's more than likely linked to vaping and whatnot. And it also says that a lot of them are linked to THC. Now, I'm a weed proponent. Vaping was one of those things that I kind of knew. I knew that I didn't know. And that sounds really fucking stupid, but it's not. The reason, like, there was a lot of people who say, no, vaping is safer. It's safer. It's 100%. It's totally going to come out. The problem is I was like, okay, it's probably safer, but I knew that I didn't know. And what I meant by that is we did not have a large enough sample size to know. Like, when cigarettes first came out, people promoted them as healthy. It wasn't until 50 years of finally studying what had come out and what had happened, the results of day-to-day use, that it came out that it was horrible for you. So same thing with this, where it's like, I I just guessed. I don't use it all the time. I just had a feeling. I was like, you know what? It's probably a safer alternative. It seems pretty legit, but it's not. But I also knew in the back of my head the reason that I didn't use it often was because of the fact that I knew, you know what? This hasn't been studied for a long sample size. Now, I figured we were going to have to wait like 20 to 30 years until like a study or an illness like this came out where the first kid has died from a vaping related illness. And one of the things that's crazy about this is that a lot of them are like the illnesses now are linked to THC, meaning weed. I think that this is one of, now, how do I word this? This is a massive problem in terms of weed not being legal. Because basically what happens now is this information is out, right? I've seen it all over the news the last 2 days. The major problem with it being illegal is now because it's so stigmatized, because people think it's fucking, you know, all losers that do it, whatever. There are now like, and I don't think that anybody who's under the age of 21 should be smoking anyway, but like, because it has horrible effects on your brain, like when your brain is still trying to fully develop, that's a known fact. Once you're past 21, recreational, it's a law, I'm cool with that. But there are so many people who still do smoke underage, and they're not going to, because they can't be upfront and honest with their parents or whatever, be like, hey, yeah, like I smoke from time to time. Sometimes I use a vaporizer to smoke, whatever. And especially with cartridges now being fucking everywhere, like anybody who knows anything about weed knows that like they are huge right now. They don't smell. They're much more potent. And like, it's normally like your average weed has like 20% THC. Cartridges have like between like 70 to 99% THC. And everybody's using them just because they're convenient. You don't have to roll. You don't have to fucking do anything. It's just as easy as use it. Like it's just that simple. And you don't have to smoke as much because it's so potent. But so the problem is, getting way off track there, the whole problem with it not being legal is now 18-year-olds don't really watch the fucking news. And like I say all the time, news is boring. And there's a reason that people don't watch it. But this is fucking serious shit. So like, there's an 18-year-old kid now who's out there whose parents probably know about this story, but have no idea that their kids are involved with vaping, no idea that their kids smoke, so they don't bother to tell them. And now that kid is never going to know. Like, he's going to be literally killing himself and have no fucking idea he's doing it. That is such a huge problem, because if that same, like, 17-year-old kid could be like, yeah, I smoke from time to time, yeah, I use a herbal vaporizer, like, even if you're mad at me, like, I'll just be upfront and honest about it, like, I can still be a good kid and smoke weed. But, like, because it's still so stigmatized, they bury it, they hide it, their parents have no idea. The kid will never see this fucking report. Their parents will see it, be like, my kid doesn't smoke weed, I don't have to tell them. And so now that people are literally, you see the problem, where he or she is gonna continue to smoke, have no idea using a vaporizer, a cartridge, whatever, is horrible for you. Who would have ever guessed that through all these years, like, this kid, I think they had said smoked for 3 years, or vaped for 3 years. Who would have fucking guessed 3 years of vaping could kill somebody? Cigarettes took almost an entire lifetime. That's fucking crazy. So if you lasted 80 years with cigarettes versus 3 years with a fucking vaporizer, those things are fucking killing machines, dude. That's fucking insane. Who would have ever guessed that a fucking joint is better than a cartridge or a fucking herbal vaporizer or whatever? Like, that is crazy. So I wanted to get it out there, just because, like I said, I've used vapes before, like, would have never guessed that this would have been the final result, that only 3 years later we would have found that they're fucking terrible for you. I had a feeling that something would come out later and say, like, they could still give you cancer. It might be a little bit more safer, but it's not, like, great. Like, that's another thing, too. You should know, like, anytime that, like, I smoke cigars, and the FDA has a study that says they have little to no effect on your health. But I still know that smoking cigars is bad for me. Like, I know that ahead of time, that, you know, like, hey, like, I'm inhaling something, or you don't inhale cigars, but I'm puffing on something that I'm not supposed to be putting into my lungs. Like, I'm not, that's not like a natural human function, is to have cigar smoke in your system, or nicotine in your system, like all this other stuff. That's not a natural human function. So it's anybody who thinks that, like, that's why I say, like, I knew what I didn't know. That I knew that I thought I thought, that's the key word. I thought this was going to be a little bit of a healthier alternative. Turns out it's not. You know? Turns out it's really not. I'm just happy that we got this information. It sucks that so many people now have these respiratory illnesses and whatnot, but I'd rather it come out now. I'm glad it didn't take 20 years to find this out. Now that, because like, and like I said, there's going to be a lot of people who don't get this news. It's really unfortunate. There's going to be a lot of people who get seriously messed up from these things, just because the advertisers do a fucking brilliant job branding it as safer for you. And I fucking bought it. Like, I was one of the people. Like, I bought it. I was like, you know what? It probably is. I thought it still wasn't good for you. Going back to what I said about, like, cigars, same thing. I didn't think it was good for me, but I thought it would still probably be better than cigarettes, which I've never smoked anyway. So be careful if, like, I know cartridges, especially with, like, the weed market, or even herbal vaporizers are out there, like, fucking crazy. Smoke a joint, dude. Smoke a fucking joint. I don't want to say a blunt or bowl, whatever. Like, find something else. Like, the last thing you want to do is have this fucking, especially if you're like a daily user, or if you smoke like 3 to 4 times a week, fucking quit the shit, dude. It's not worth it. So that's basically what I wanted to get out. It was a really prominent story. And it sucks that somebody had to die for this to happen, and, you know, us to get the information. That's why it's like, I just wish that we could study this stuff before we give it to the fucking public. But yeah, not good stuff. Hopefully, I could be totally wrong. Hopefully that they come back and say that, you know, it was very minimal to do with the fact that he was vaping, but due to the fact that there are so many people who are now in the hospital with respiratory illnesses, not a good sign, not a good look. That'll actually end the podcast this week. That'll actually end it. Next episode is next Sunday. You'll see clips of this all throughout the week. Uncensored DJK dipping out.